Working a 4-hour work week. How does that look like? Let's chat about this. So we took our sweet time to read through the book called A 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferris. We wanted to share this book points of views that might come in handy in terms of approach and thinking. But some things we don't really 100% agree on. So the key points that is called out pretty early on is new rich. Basically what he means by this is that you don't have to work 40-hour work weeks, but you can go smart around spending your hours during the week. Therefore having more time to enjoy the other things in life and therefore have a much richer experience. Darren, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I really enjoyed this book. I haven't read a book for 2 years after I've just done my master's, so I read it within 2 hours, and there's some good tips about speed reading within the book. It's interesting, isn't it? It's
so fast.
Yeah, it was really, really fast. But it kind of, and in fact, Tim actually recommends himself that you shouldn't read page to page, cover to cover that much. He sees that as a bit of a kind of a waste of your time, or a business owner's waste of time. But take out the ingredients that you need to that's going to be helpful for you. Initially, I was quite kind of unsure about whether it's going to be a good book or not, and especially because it's written in 2006 and if it's still really relevant today. It's pretty should be outdated.
Yeah. But in terms of that, we have our own opinions on that, so let's talk about that some more. Yeah.
Do you like the term new rich? It's an interesting, definite. I'm not too sure. He splits people into two groups. So you're kind of either in the new rich group or you're not. So you're just in this other group of people who are just doing things from day to day.
Yeah, I like the term new rich. Having a lot of money doesn't necessarily make you really happy.
It's all about why you started the business, is what we've always talked about. It's like, why did you start working for yourself? Nobody ever starts a business to work 80 hours a week. You want to enjoy more of life, spend more time with friends, loved ones, doing things you really want to do out of life. And this book tells you kind of how you might be able to do it.
Yeah, true. It's a really important to. It's a combination of enjoying life, and I think that's what it comes down to. Yeah, basically that you need to enjoy life as how it is, and that you should not fill up your full week, like instead of working 40 hours, maybe working 80 hours. But then again, it's really like, it's a point of view. It's like, okay, well, if you enjoy working that much, if that's your passion, if you think, if you really enjoy that, then that's okay as well. It's just a different point of view. That's what it comes down to, the way I think it. And he wants to share this opinion like, okay, well, you don't have to work. I think that that's what it comes down to. You don't have to work so extremely hard. You just need to work smart in a way, and work in a way that suits you and that makes you happy.
Yeah, and this 9 to 5 routine, which people work to, it's not the be all and end all. I tend to try to work earlier hours because that kind of like suits me. I'm much more awake. I know you're fairly the same as me. I know you also take a break in the middle of the day and work a little bit later. So everybody's got their own ways of working. And then again, what this book is trying to tell us is that, you may even just have much more small amounts of hours, and about condensing things down into small runs. So whereas you might be checking your emails and social media throughout the day.
Yeah, he mentioned checking it once a day.
Yeah, that may be quite hard for some people.
Yeah, that might be quite hard. I basically, when I read that, I was like, well, how can you possibly just read your email once a day?
Yeah.
I mean, the clients. So the way I think it works like this. Your clients are the most important. Next to that, your employees are the most important, or depends on how your business is built, right? Mm-hmm. So how can you best service your clients if you just read your emails once a day? I know, obviously, it makes it so much easier to read it once a day. But it's all about communication and availability. And if you just read your emails once a day, then they are like, well, where is he? But okay, therefore, I believe that his statements, and that comes down to a lot of speakers out there, although the statements that they make, they are really like, you have to put them into reality and into practice, or you don't need to take them like, okay, well, this is what they say, I will do directly what I am told and do it exactly like, and put it into practice into my own life. It comes down to like, well, how can you incorporate that, and what is the thought process behind it? Obviously, it's better maybe to say, well, I'm going to check my email just on certain times. So it's just working smarter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and he talks a lot about using virtual assistants and kind of outsourcing a lot of your regular tasks, because there's a value on your time. But I think I would struggle with it, because all the types of inquiries and emails that I respond to vary so much that I couldn't give that job, because there's no consistency. I don't deal with the same types of inquiries every single day. So all the types of responses I have to give are very different. So the time it would take me to explain what I would say and what I wouldn't say to somebody, I might as well just go and do it myself. So that didn't work for me, but it might work for somebody else.
Yeah, it's true. So outsourcing and the delegation part, it really comes down to like stuff, what is on repetitive base and what can you automate? Some things you might automate. And in terms of delegation, really go around, okay, well, what are things that I don't necessarily have to do? But I think that's something part of the hiring process anyway. But obviously, the delegation and hiring is very close to one another, basically almost practically the same. So really look at what can someone else do, and what is something that I really have to keep close to myself, because that was what makes my business unique and stuff like that.
One of the problems that with the automation is that I think people have now taken it too far, and you may have seen there's quite a lot of LinkedIn where you just get the same messages repeated time after time. There's no variation in the theme. There's no sort of building up the rapport or relationship with you. And I just don't really see it. I can't see how that can work. And the cost it takes to send in LinkedIn messages, or the time you're paying somebody to do that. We're so overwhelmed with information at the moment and data that unless you've got a huge pool of data, you might get a few inquiries back. But I can't see it's great for your reputation, or there's no real value in doing it in that way. So I think automation has gone too far, and we've lost personalization a lot. So I think that's a bit of a danger.
Yeah, definitely. Again, it comes down to what makes sense and what is okay to do for your business, and what cannot give you any potential danger. So some other points that I wanted to highlight on what he talked about. So basically, he talked about the deal principle. So definition, elimination, automation, and liberation. And the definition part comes down to, and I don't fully agree on all the points, but definition comes down to, okay, well, what is it? Define what makes you special. Get down to what it is you want to do. Define who you are, where you want to go to, what you want to offer. Really get down to something that also is in line in like, don't be like the rest. Make sure that you are unique. Then the elimination part's like, just work smarter, eliminate stuff that's not necessary to do. And then it comes to automation, and that's like basically outsourcing or trying to find structures that, you don't have to spend too much time into that. And then also we have the liberation, and that's obviously what comes down to it. What did you thought of that principle? Is that something you agree on every point?
I don't agree on every point, but I think if you use it as a guide, to help you achieve what you want to get out of the business and what you want to get out of life. I think it's a start. I think the elimination part, he talks a lot more about the 80-20 rule, which I know was on your list to talk about. So in terms of the elimination, he says about eliminating, or he explains that the principle that 80% of your
that was the Pareto law.
That's it, yeah.
Pareto law.
80% of your income or revenue could come from just 20% of your effort or 20% of your clients. So potentially you could look at eliminating 80% of your clients and just focus on the 20% that's going to give you the most return. So we've talked about that, haven't we, on the podcast before. So I think it's really interesting.
But that's what all these books basically I feel are always about. It's like, getting down to, there are certain main aspects out there, and it's just different ways of approaching them. And these different ways of approaching them, some might not work for you and some might work. And in some scenario, sometimes they give examples that like speak to you and sometimes they don't. And that's what all these stuff comes down to.
I said like the liberation part of the deal principle wouldn't work for me at the moment, not within a kind of starting a business. I mean, both of us are 3 years in, nearabouts, but like taking a week off is actually quite tricky to do. So the visualization of actually being able to take a month off, not just once in the year, but 2-3 times in the year, is a lovely aim to have. I'm not so sure that's a sensible thing to put that into your business plan straight away, but there might be something you wish to aspire to within a certain period of time, say within the first 5 years, may kind of work. But I think for most businesses, you do need to put a lot of work in up front in order to get to that reward.
Yeah,
I think, if you see it as a vehicle to help you get there, then I think it's great. But if you read it and say, right, I'm going to start this whole process now, and start to work through it, I think you're going to have some problems.
Yeah, 100% agree. So in terms of points that we did not agree on, it's true. It's like the end goal shouldn't be making X and X amount of money, because that's a never-ending goal. What it comes down to is loving what you do in the process, living in the moment, enjoying life, because what is mentioned, like, well, 20 years of study, 40 years of work, and then 20 years of retirement. And yeah, you can work your ass off these 40 years of work, and then have the retirement and then say, oh, that's relaxing, and those 40 years basically you work non-stop. What it comes down to is that I never experienced that, obviously. Hard work though, but not the retirement.
Yeah.
But what it comes down to is that you need to love the process and throughout, and a 4-hour work week might come. It's just working smarter. That's what it comes down to, I guess. And yeah, it doesn't make sense. There might be some people that think, well, I just want to work as less as possible and make much money as possible. That's not what the book comes down to. That's not what it's all about. It's about working smarter and be more careful with your time, and don't forget to do the things that you love. If you liked the video, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, comment down below, and we talk to you next time.